let's summarize the plot of Shakespeare's comedy masterpiece, A Midsummer Night's Dream. In the play's introduction, Theseus, the Duke of Athens, and Hippolyta, Queen of the Amazons, plan their upcoming wedding. Aegeus enters with his daughter Hermia and two men who were in love with her, Demetrius and Lysander. Hermia loves Lysander, but Aegeus wants her to marry Demetrius. Aegeus demands Theseus force his daughter to marry Demetrius by invoking Athenian law, which requires a daughter to obey her father or face death. Theseus agrees, but decides on chastity in favor of death. During the rising action, Lysander and Hermia make a secret plan to meet in the woods the next night and run away to escape Athenian law. They reveal their plan to Helena, who is in unrequited love with Demetrius. Helena tells Demetrius the plan, hoping it will make him like her, but it doesn't. Meanwhile, some Athenian tradesmen called the Rude Mechanicals plan a play they hope to perform during the marriage celebrations of Theseus and Hippolyta based on the star-crossed lovers Pyramus and Thisbe. Tradesman Nick Bottom enthusiastically agrees to the plan, as do the others, and they decide to rehearse in the woods the next night. In the woods, Oberon, king of the fairies, and Titania, his queen, quarrel over a changeling child that she won't give to Oberon. As revenge, Oberon instructs his mischievous fairy servant Puck to fetch him a magic flower that has a juice inside that causes a sleeping person to fall in love with the first living creature they'll see upon waking. He wants to make Titania fall in love with something vile. Oberon then overhears Demetrius putting down Helena. That night, Oberon uses the magic flower on Titania's eyelids, but Puck puts the nectar on the wrong Athenian, Lysander. Helena enters and wakes Lysander, who's sleeping in the woods with Hermia. Of course, he instantly falls in love with her, to both Helena and Hermia's confusion. The Athenian tradesmen are also in the woods rehearsing. Puck, as a prank, changes Bottom's head to a donkey head. The rest of the men run off, and Titania wakes, sees the donkey-headed Bottom, and falls instantly in love. As Puck and Oberon again meet in the woods to discuss how their plans have gone, Demetrius and Hermia enter. When Demetrius sleeps, Oberon fixes Puck's mistake, applying the flower juice to Demetrius's eyes. Helena arrives, followed by Lysander, and Demetrius wakes and falls instantly in love with Helena. In the climax, Hermia returns, confusion reigns, and madcap arguments ensue. In the falling action, Oberon gives Puck another flower to undo the spell on Lysander. Puck does this, lifting the enchantment from Lysander, but not from Demetrius. During the falling action, Puck restores Bottom's head to a human head. Oberon takes the spell off Titania, and Theseus agrees that the two young couples can marry. In the resolution, the tradesmen perform their play, the fairies enter and bless the house with music and dancing, and Puck asks the audience to think of the whole play as if it were just a dream. There are a lot of important characters in A Midsummer Night's Dream. First is Puck. Fairy Puck hilariously pranks unsuspecting humans. He frightens maidens, makes beer flat, misleads wanderers so they become lost, and makes people fall as they go to sit on their stools. His antics amuse himself, as well as his master Oberon, and they have garnered him a reputation. Puck is irresponsible, but not malicious. There's no real protagonist in A Midsummer Night's Dream, but Puck drives much of the plot and is the only character to move between the worlds of the fairy realm and the human world. He ties these worlds together with his enchantments, and his words close the play. Next is Bottom. The weaver Nick Bottom is one of the tradesmen recruited by Quince to perform in the play about Pyramus and Thisbe. He eagerly volunteers to play not just the lead role, but the smaller roles as well. His staggering belief in himself as an intelligent man, a great actor, and a poetic writer is at once annoying and endearing. Bottom's transformation by Puck serves a plot point in Oberon and Titania's feud, but it also reflects on his personality. He's an ass. Helena is another main character. Helena begins the play as a pathetically in love woman who laments her jealousy of Hermia and love for Demetrius. She tells Demetrius of Lysander and Hermia's elopement plan, hoping Demetrius will like her just a little. She follows after him into the woods, vowing to be his spaniel. Helena's apparent lowly dog self-esteem persists even after she's the object of both men's desire, assuming she's being mocked by them. She eventually accepts Demetrius' love. Next is Hermia. Hermia's love for Lysander and her commitment to marrying him despite her father's commandment set up the conflict of the play. Their plan is to elope, which takes them into the woods, with Helena and Demetrius following. Hermia is perplexed and angry when Lysander and Demetrius fall in love with Helena. Her fight with Helena in the woods marks the pinnacle of madcap chaos and comedy as the two women trade insults and try to physically hurt each other. Then there's the fairy queen, Titania. Titania's feud with Oberon wreaks havoc on natural systems, such as the weather, and inspires Oberon to obtain the magic flower that will cause her to love whatever living creature she sees. That later turns out to be repulsive, donkey-headed Bottom. Finally, there's Oberon. Fairy King Oberon's fixation on forcing Titania to relinquish the changeling boy to him drives their quarrel. His vague instruction to Puck about the magic flower's nectar causes Puck to mistakenly enchant the wrong Athenian. Let's review the main symbols in A Midsummer Night's Dream. The first is the woods. The woods are a powerful symbol of untamed nature, and in this play, nature is specifically tied to the fairy realm. Titania and Oberon's argument causes unrest in nature, including unseasonable weather. The woods represents both untamed nature and untamed magic, which are intertwined. The disruptive fairy magic represented by the woods is then the perfect setting for the dream part of A Midsummer Night's Dream. In the woods, dreamlike events can take place, events that do not obey the rules of nature or Athenian civilization. Flowers are another symbol. Besides their connection to the woods and fairy world and its merriment, Oberon tells Puck he witnessed Cupid's arrow striking a flower. This flower contains a magical juice that, when placed on a person's eyelids, causes that person to instantly fall in love with whatever creature he or she sees upon waking up. The other flower is used to reverse the magical enchantments of the first flower. In the play, these enchantments create confusion, but ultimately work together to make a happy ending out of tragic circumstances. So it is that flowers symbolize not only nature, but also the wild and benevolent nature of the fairy magic. Another symbol is the moon. The moon exerts a powerful force on many of the characters, affecting how they act. It is associated with the love and dreaming the characters encounter. The action of the play occurs at night, when the moon presides. In Act 2, Scene 1, one of the fairies celebrates being a night fairy, saying that it is swifter than the moon's sphere, which means that this fairy is much too quick to be caught in the net of the moon's spell. The moon shows the passage of time. In Act 1, Scene 1, when Theseus and Hippolyta are discussing their approaching marriage, Theseus claims the old moon makes time progress slowly. The moon is also a witness to their marriage ceremony and their union on their wedding night. But the moon represents chastity too. In Act 1, Scene 1, Theseus tells Hermia that it would be difficult to live a barren sister all her life, chanting faint hymns to the cold, fruitless moon. This reference to nuns evokes purity, and the words barren and fruitless also denote chastity. And yet, the moon also represents lust. Aegeus says that Lysander hast by moonlight at her window sung, with feigning voice, verses of feigning love, showing how Lysander serenaded his love by the moonlight, an act of lust. Let's review the main themes in A Midsummer Night's Dream. The first is patriarchy. The first scene of the play introduces a conflict that hinges on male dominance in the social hierarchy. Aegeus wants his daughter to marry Demetrius, and according to Athenian law, she must obey her father or be punished. Theseus has won his wife, the Amazon queen Hippolyta, by defeating her in battle. The patriarchal nature of Athenian society is the focus of the scene. This theme further develops as the setting shifts to the woods, where Titania refuses to obey her husband Oberon. Her refusal to give in persists, causing disturbances in the natural world and prompting Oberon to play a cruel joke in retaliation. The disturbance represents gender roles being, in this play, the natural order, not to be subverted. In stark contrast, the enchantments of Demetrius and Lysander cause them to want Helena. And this shift in gender roles places Helena in a position of social power over two men. Shakespeare establishes and challenges traditional notions of gender in romantic relationships. Another theme is love as a magical force. At the play's onset, Aegeus accuses Lysander of bewitching his daughter, as if Hermia's love for Lysander were a magical power that forced her to love him. In the woods, the flower imbued with the magic of Cupid's arrow is a concrete representation of the magical, bewitching nature of love, as people are literally put under love spells that cause them to fall in love with the first living creature they see when they wake up. love's magic proves to be unpredictable and not subject to rules or laws, tying this theme closely to the theme of order versus disorder. Demetrius has fallen in love with Hermia. Helena's love for Demetrius, who scorns her, is out of control, and she follows him like a dog. Luckily for the two eligible young couples under various spells, all love comes from without, not within. Demetrius's enchantment is an afterthought when everyone is happily married. Order versus disorder is another theme. In Athens, Theseus maintains order by enforcing the law and by observing the correct ceremonies at an appropriate time. He's the Duke, and as a noble and military man, order and hierarchy are very important to him. He stresses that Hermia's obedience should be to her father because in the social hierarchy, her father is in charge of her decisions. The only disturbance in the order of Theseus's world is love. Demetrius's inconsistent love, first toward Helena, then toward Hermia, and Hermia's love for Lysander, whom she is not allowed to love. But in the fairy world, disorder reigns. Titania's disobedience of Oberon jars nature itself. The lovers who enter the woods end up in total disorder because of Puck's mistake. The mechanicals are disordered as they become terrified at seeing Bottom's transformation. By the end of the play, the couples are married. The play is chosen and performed poorly. The disorder of the dream woods leaves its mark on the lives of those who entered it, resulting in order afterwards. Not all order is good. Order can cause tragedy. Not all disorder is bad. In fact, it can be a blessing, or at least entertaining. There are a couple notable motifs in A Midsummer Night's Dream. The first is day and night. To support the theme of order versus disorder and draw attention to the dreamlike nature of the woods, Shakespeare sets some scenes in the day and some at night. Act 1 takes place in the daytime, and events are far from dreamlike. But Act 2 and 3 take place at night and comprise fairies playing pranks, magical love spells, and a quarrel between the king and queen of the fairies themselves. This is the night in which the dream of the title takes place. In Act 4, the lovers exit the woods and go back to reality, though one enchantment remains in place. The play shifts again to nighttime as the fairies come to bless the three marriages. The dream world of chaos, fairies, and magic is associated with the disorderly night, and the orderly part of the play, the ceremonies and laws of the structured Athenians, is associated with the day. Another motif is the play within a play. The Rude Mechanicals play is about the two lovers, Pyramus and Thisbe, whose families will not allow them to be with each other, just like Romeo and Juliet. Living next to each other, they whisper of their love through a crack in the wall. They make a plan to meet secretly, but when Thisbe gets there, she's frightened by a bloody-jawed lion and, dropping her cloak, runs away. The lion chews the cloak, leaving it bloody, so that when Pyramus arrives, he believes the lion has killed and eaten his lover. He kills himself in sorrow. This play within a play includes a main event that is similar to the one in the larger play. Two lovers are forbidden from marrying by family. However, the play within a play has a tragic ending, while the larger play has a happy one. This contrast highlights the effect of the fairies' magic, turning a tragedy to a dream of romance and comedy. Additionally, the play within a play calls attention to the theatricality of the antics that ensue in the fairy woods. Just as the nobles watch with amusement as the mechanicals act their parts poorly in a play, so too does Puck watch in amusement as the four lovers make fools of themselves in the woods. In many ways, this play serves as Shakespeare's commentary on his own art form.